Well, it's 6 o'clock and we have a quorum, so I think we can get started. I guess it's a call to order. Do we want to do introductions? You want to introduce yourself, or do you introduce yourself to anyone?
Hello, everybody. I'm Benedina Castamanian, new assistant city attorney for Bloomington.
Do we want to go around and introduce ourselves for her, or?
My name is McQueen Reese, and I'm one of the board members.
I'm Phil Amerson, and I'm a member of the board.
Ryan Pettigo, Police Department. Roger Kerr, Fire. Max Little, Fire.
Barbara McKinney and Audrey.
Welcome to Bloomington,
Yeah.
or the city.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for the March 19th meeting?
So moved.
For your second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the verbal certification of the payroll for March 22nd, 2024 and April 5th, 2024.
I certify on behalf of the chief, please. Thanks.
Yep, I certify for the fire.
Thank you. Next item is police department business.
Sure. We can go ahead and get started on the calls for service. Unfortunately, we are continuing to see this trend of increased.
I'll help you.
Oh, sorry.
Oops.
Now, hang on, chief. Let's not get too far ahead.
I'll go to the first one. How's that?
All right. We did a 4.2% increase in calls for service over last year, and obviously last year was substantially higher than the year before, so we do continue to see an increase in calls for service, which does become somewhat difficult at times, but our officers do a fantastic job of prioritizing calls and getting to the non-priority calls when they get an opportunity to. In the comparison in crime totals, some of the numbers look really big. However, some of the increases and decreases look really big, but it's kind of important to note, though, that, like, you see 100% increase in murder. That's 1 versus 0. Would you like to
Go ahead.
Okay.
Fine job.
Would you like the controller? Would you like
Chief's
the flipper,
clicking
or-
for me. I'll click for you.
Thank you.
Of note, I will say, although only down slightly, it is nice to see the domestic battery number dip a little bit. That is something that we've struggled with in years past. So seeing that, those types of calls that occur within closed residences, it would be nice to hopefully continue to see that decline.
One question. How we had weren't there 2 murders of homeless people?
One was actually in December, and then one was actually in
okay, thank
2024.
you.
Traffic stops continue to increase. This is part of our initiative to locate those committing crimes and deter crimes. So we're taking a pretty high visibility, or asking the officers to maintain high visibility and be proactive in their traffic stops to deter criminal activity. Violent crimes involving weapons is slightly down. I'll be honest, I do not know, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, Chief. I do not know if those previous 2 are for the entire year or if that's year to date for those time spans as well. I'm not. They are year to date. Okay. So they are down slightly, which is good. And I think, honestly, some of that can be attributed to the fact that the officers, the slide before where we showed the things like traffic stops, I think that we've made several arrests for individuals that were prohibited from having firearms, that have been found to be in possession of firearms. So hopefully that is part of the reason that we're seeing that decrease in calls involving firearms. Adult arrest and juvenile arrests are both up fairly significantly for this time over last year. And again, I would attribute that to our officers taking a very proactive stance as we try and reduce the amount of crime that's occurring within the city. We're not big on, we kind of preach that we don't want repeat calls on the same individual. If someone is committing a crime, then they need to be arrested for such. So that's probably why you see those numbers up. Hate crimes, we're not to, we have none, but we're not to the end of this reporting period yet. So I'm not aware of any, but we still have 0.
Can you give any details on the 2 from last year? I just am curious for my former life.
I believe the stabbing was last year.
I don't remember.
I believe the stabbing of the young woman on the city bus was last year. That would meet the criteria. Gosh, I know that there was one, I cannot remember.
Was it the? No.
I'm sorry, I can't recall what the,
I was just curious because of dealing with that for so long.
yeah, I apologize. I can have that for you at the next meeting, but at the time, I can't remember right now
That's fine.
what the call was. Nuisance calls, the disturbances continue to lead the way a lot. With vandalism and intoxication being slightly lower, I would say that obviously as the weather gets warmer, you'll probably see that intoxication number increase. That does certainly begin to play a factor as more people are outside, publicly intoxicating, causing issues, things like that. Training, we had almost 700 hours of training for the month as compared to slightly lower than what it was last year. However, the difference, a lot of that can probably be attributed to our mandatory training blocks, and it just depends on how many are within a certain month. Like last month, I think we had a fair amount more than what we did last year, and then so it just depends. Like we had more training blocks in the month of February versus March, so that's kind of where you see those differences. But that is the majority is our 3-day training blocks, which the chief and I just attended. And that was eye-opening as he and I were defensive tactics partners. So we had to do some handcuffing and wrestling
We're
and
at a point
such.
in our lives where our bodies don't bend like the younger officers. So.
I still have a little sore, I'm not gonna lie.
Yoga. We gotta do some yoga.
That's right.
I could probably do a lot of
I will
things.
point out the ICAT Train the Trainer course. ICAT is a evidence-based de-escalation training program, and we have a few instructors so that we can continue to do as much de-escalation training as we can.
And that is included in the mandatory training blocks that every officer must attend this year. There is a section on ICAT, and it deals specifically with de-escalating situations in which someone is armed with a weapon besides a firearm. So you're talking about knives, scissors, a hammer, machete, whatever it may be, anything but a firearm. That's what ICAT is directed towards. Community engagement events, up a couple, over 23, had 15. And then we also had more personnel involved, and I know that's something that the chief has stressed, is increasing the number of events that we are participating in and the number of personnel involved. So it's nice to see those numbers going up. And we've had several officers that have reached out and have volunteered that, to be honest, some of them were not ones in the past that probably would have necessarily been volunteers. So it's nice to see them wanting to get out in the community and kind of be a face for our agency and participate in these types of events.
One of the community engagement events that is upcoming is we're going to do our Citizens Youth Academy again this year, which we haven't done it for a few years, but that's a really popular thing for younger people that we put on, and so we're gonna do that again this summer.
Social workers, I'm sorry, the upcoming events, we have the ISU Criminal Justice Career Fair. It's always nice to send officers to universities that have a criminal justice program, which ISU certainly does. So have officers attend that with the talent acquisition specialist from the Human Resources Department in an effort to get some quality applicants that are looking for employment upon graduation. We brought back the Forever Friends photo shoot. Officers, or at least employees of the agency, get their photos taken with animals that are up for adoption. That's always popular. People like that. Anything with animals is always a good thing. We have the Susie's Place Donut Drive, and then the Children's Expo with Parks and Rec. Social workers, number of referrals slightly down and contacts slightly down. However, I think it's probably important to note that we are currently down one social worker from, we normally have 3. Right now we only have 2. We do have an ongoing hiring process to fill the openings, but that's probably a little bit why you're seeing some of the number of contacts down. And in the number of referrals, you might see a slight decrease because they continue to work with ones they've already been referred to. So these are simply new referrals.
I don't know if you all know this or not, but I teach grad students at the School of Social Work. One of my students is interested, so I don't have to let her know she graduates, but she's not. I'm curious how we can maybe. She's a first year student though, so she's not done with the program yet.
We have focused on master's level.
Yeah, so she's in her first MSW. She's in her first year, so you want to wait until they actually get there. Okay, but I know she's interested. She's really good.
And we do have
Internships.
Yeah, we offer
You do?
internships as
Okay.
well. So
I'll let her know.
yeah, we have two doing an internship right now. So
Okay.
it's a great way to get the foot in the door and kind of learn what our folks do and kind of become familiar with our model.
I'll let her know.
One of the ones that I thought was, two of the things here, I'll obviously let the chief speak to his presentation, but the social workers were called to the scene of a major traumatic event, and they were able to get the person connected with the therapist within 2 days, which those are the types of things, those to me are really the wins because, when people experience serious trauma, it's great to be able to have someone they can connect with there on scene. They can maintain contact with our social workers until they're able to get in and actually meet with a therapist or a provider. So that's always a win when you can get someone connected within just a few days of a traumatic event like that. Would you like to speak?
So the two International Association of Chiefs of Police events, one was in Louisville where Melissa, our head social worker, presented, and I got asked to participate in a roundtable discussion with different people from around the country about social workers and officer wellness in departments. The second one was in San Antonio, Texas. We presented at the mid-size agency mid-year conference on police social workers in law enforcement agencies, which again, it's relatively new. More agencies are starting to do that, but not a lot of them have embedded social workers. They contract with mental health associations to get social workers. So, it's kind of a little star for our agency because we continue to get asked to present at these conferences and just highlighting what we're doing. So
I'm glad others are looking at doing the same thing too.
Yeah.
The work.
Letters of appreciation. The first was from the deputy mayor and the mayor. It's in reference to the officers began spending quite a bit of time doing kind of some walkthroughs and foot patrols here within the building and around the building after the council meeting in which there were some terrible things that people called in and said, and it was requested that we spend some more time here just to make sure that we were going to move on from that and not have any issues here at City Hall. So both the mayor and deputy mayor reached out thanking our officers for spending time here. And then the second is a thank you note we received from the deputy chief of the Indiana University Police Department, who thanked our officers for covering their emergency calls for them. They had a fairly significant protest on campus in which they kept all their officers attached to that in the event that they had a major breakout of problems. So we offered to cover their emergency calls for them outside of that event so that they could focus their resources there and make sure they had everything covered and everyone was going to be safe. So Deputy Chief Bunger reached out and thanked us for providing assistance.
I have a question. I'm curious because these incidences it seems like they keep escalating. So I'm curious if there's a community assessment to check the temperature of because if it's in one area where you have a racial slur that took place in someone at City Hall and then you have protests, I'm just curious of the climate and the temperature, how is that being assessed? Are we...
police department's not doing any assessments.
Okay.
I'm not sure if any other community groups are.
Okay.
We do have data analysts that are currently scrubbing just open source social media type things, trying to maintain, an awareness of upcoming events and things like that. So that is something that we certainly keep an eye on.
It just kind of feels like the tension is a lot of tension. You know what I mean? So that's something that I know that was brought to the NAACP as well. So it just feels like it's a lot of tension taking place. So I'm just curious about what could be done. I'm not trying to put it on you all, but it definitely has been communicated. Individuals from the chapter have definitely reached out and said, hey, these stuff is happening. So it's a lot of tension taking place. So I'm just curious about it.
Did they have any ideas how to address it?
Well, we have to talk. So we'll have an executive committee meeting, and I'll report back. But I do think that we should pay attention to it for sure. A lot of people are a little bit scared right now.
General business, we got through the eclipse with very little fanfare.
How many people actually came?
Did they have any idea how many people were here?
10.
Shut the front door.
My siblings all decided not to come because they were freaked.
It was interesting because, we monitored I-69 and there was literally no traffic. But I-65 was, it was just
Yeah.
overcrowded.
I attended the Emergency Management Advisory Council meeting this morning. I'm the mayor's liaison for that, and the discussion was that Evansville got slammed,
I think Indianapolis did too.
and Indianapolis got slammed, and the 65 corridor was very busy, but their thought is that people who were coming up the 69 corridor got to Evansville, and it got so bogged down that they just stayed. They didn't even try to come up any further
Yeah.
north.
I had a great time watching the clip.
Yeah.
No
Yeah, we didn't really, downtown was busy. The hotels had a lot of people in it, but the airport was busy. IU wasn't in classes, so campus was busy, but there was not a lot of car traffic. And I think people locally heeded the warnings of just stay home.
Oh,
If there
So,
were 8,000 people in Switchyard Park,
yeah.
I don't suppose that happens every day.
No, and there's not parking for 8,000 people, so, it was
Foot traffic.
people walking.
A lot of
I
foot
guess
traffic.
that's good.
So,
Very good.
but
The message got out and everybody locally really paid attention.
other things I heard is because Bloomington was kind of in the center of the totality, people drove to the edges so that they wouldn't get stuck. So, but I enjoyed it. It was nice. I was like, if I get stuck and I'm not being able to drive across town, and I didn't wait in traffic at all.
I stayed home.
Our daughter was here and it was 8 hours back to Chicago for her.
Yeah, I've heard stories like that. I heard somebody it took them 9 hours. So.
I lived by the mall and had no
How long does
traffic
it
at
usually
all.
take to get to Chicago?
It was like, how is nobody
3.5,
parking?
4.
That's what I was thinking. I've driven it for a while. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
talked over you.
Oh, no.
I was following reports from the state police, and that's 65 seemed to be the interstate with all the traffic.
No, I went to Inkwell on Sunday, and usually Sundays they can be really busy. You can't find a table. I went there about 1 o'clock on Sunday. There were 10 empty tables. What the heck? So interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, we survived the eclipse. It was a pretty cool thing. Little 500 is this weekend,
Oh.
so another reason to stay home and not go out. In between Eclipse and Little 5, there was a concert at IU, but that really wasn't any problem at all. After Little 5, it is graduation, and then things slow down a little bit. So, purchases, I think in your packet, there's a computer replacement purchase that we made for department computers. And then personnel issues, I will let Ryan, our personnel guru,
Thank you much, Chief.
who enjoys it so much. get that.
Currently, still sitting at 87 sworn officers of our 105 that we are authorized. We do have an officer that graduates from the Law Enforcement Academy this Friday, just in time for Little 5. He won't be working Little 5. He will certainly need to come back, and then he'll start our field training program. But he does graduate from the academy this Friday. We do have an officer in phase 4 of our field training program, so she should be out on her own pretty soon and able to help with some manpower. We do have 2 that we just hired a couple weeks ago that are both already certified officers, so they'll begin their field training next week, actually. And then we have 6 officers that are currently in our hiring process from the last process that we had. 1 of them is certified, 5 of them are not. And I'm waiting on the state to give me notification that they have been approved and accepted into the state pension fund. Once that happens, I can reach out to them with a start date, with an actual job offer. Start date would probably be that mid-May. May 13th would probably be the Monday in which they would start. We started 4 new community service specialists. So that'll help extend our coverage for the non-sworn that help out with the non-priority calls. They started on April 1st, so they're currently in training. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have a police social worker who's currently in the background investigation stage of the hiring process. And I guess I would like to make note that it's not really a personnel issue, and I apologize, it probably should have gone into general business, but this week is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. And the mayor made a proclamation yesterday morning this week for our dispatch personnel. So if anyone would feel so inclined, if they wanted to send a note, you're welcome to send it to me, and I'll make sure the dispatchers get it. They are recognized as first responders by statute, and they are truly our lifeline. They take the call, they send us, and they listen to us on the radio, and that's a lot sometimes. So. We do thank them, and if anyone is interested in shooting them a note, please send it to me and I'll ensure they get it.
One more general business thing. I don't know if it's been made public, but last year, Mayor Hamilton announced this $100,000 housing incentive program. He announced it like in February, I think, and it took forever to get things figured out. And finally, I think things kind of got figured out in December, but change of administrations, Mayor Thompson has canceled that program because there's a lot of issues with the financial institution and just how the whole thing works. And so to not get anybody in a big financial bind, she canceled it. There were a lot of issues with
I
it.
know some of them from their volunteers.
Yeah, so, but we still have other incentive programs that deal with down payments and rental assistance, so it's just not that big of a chunk of money.
And that's to help with the incoming officers, to help them to stay.
Public safety, so it's police and fire.
Oh, okay.
So,
It's not getting much done,
so,
not much money in this housing market.
yeah.
Has
I
that
think
do you think that that's going to affect people wanting to come here?
I didn't see people beating down our doors for it. We had some people that inquired about it, but nobody had actually moved forward on it.
Okay.
So the rental, we have more people taking advantage of the rental assistance than we do the housing down payment assistance. So I think we're done. Oh, we had no CERT ARV deployments. So now we're done.
Thank you. Any discussion? I think we're ready for fire department business.
Lead us through this. So numbers are going to follow trends that we typically see here. Majority of our calls are medical in nature, and numbers are following suit with what we've seen for this time of year in subsequent years. I would say anticipate a higher run volume in April because of the eclipse, but I don't know that that's going to change at all. So we'll see what Little 5 does to that, but otherwise we're right on track. And then the variance here from the city runs to the IU. These are typically, the majority of these are false alarms, just like you see up there. Almost 3/4 of them are related to alarms going off in buildings. This slows during the summer, of course, when the students are gone, but they just have so many monitored buildings that that's typically what our overwhelming amount of calls is dedicated to for the IU campus. Our heat map here is nice to see where some of our hotspots are for run volume. All these are pretty much the same. I do notice that One we typically see on the north end is Kinzer Flats, and it doesn't appear to be a hotspot this time. So that's good to see. The one to the east there is Redbud Hills. Obviously a lot of medical calls there. That may start to resolve a little bit in that we've made some changes to some protocols. Well, it was more clarifications with the facility with lift assists. I think they weren't fully aware of what was appropriate to call for help with and what wasn't. If they have staff on site that can provide that, please do. If they need our help, please call us. I think they thought perhaps it was just a call at will free service. So that dot may fade a little bit as well. And then the next heat map is false alarms, of which you can see a majority there are IU, which reflects our numbers we see in the charts. So, as far as response times, these are turnout times. About 80% for fire and rescue related calls are going to be at or about at our goal for 120 seconds or less. And then for EMS, we're looking at the same statistic at about 75%. Ultimately, what we want these to translate into is the times we actually arrive, of which these are very good. So 60% are under 4 minutes, and the remaining are under 8 minutes. So our first arriving times are looking good. Prevention numbers are ahead of schedule. This is kind of a new thing that we're encountering, where they're hitting these numbers beyond where we have seen in the past, and it's somewhat exciting because it's going to open up some opportunities to add some additional tasks to that prevention program. They might be able to encompass some more items beyond what they have been, and we've spoken about some options of what we might be able to add in there. As far as the children educated numbers, I've spoken in the past session, this is going to typically increase significantly when we hit the time of year when we go out and do public education for schools. So we accumulate a little bit of these throughout the year, but then you'll see them shoot up when we hit that time of year. Training numbers, the green line represents our goal. We've been pretty standard exceeding that. A lot of that's right now we have a recruit academy, a full academy going, so not only do we have hours for the recruits themselves, also the crews that are assisting with the training are getting hours as well. So that's kind of a new thing we started last year when we had so many hires, and it's been working really well, and I imagine we'll continue approaching it in that manner. MIH, so the number I always feel like is really fun to celebrate on this is that top number, the graduated from the program. Those indicate individuals that received help and no longer need the help of the program because they're now self-sustained with the resources they've been connected to. So that's ultimately the goal, and we've seen those slowly increase over time, so great to see those up on there. Always easy to populate this MIH wins field. There's more than we can put on there. Most of them are going to be focused on folks around the community that have really needed to connect to resources and just haven't been able to. Our program steps in and makes that connection, and it's always a good result. So some of these are more difficult than others. Maybe they need some convincing, or those around them need convincing. So when they're able to break those barriers, it's really good to see.
I will add here, we just hired another MIH, started yesterday. I guess that was yesterday. So that we now have 2 teams of 4 and then an actual supervisor who's not having to do field work, but actually can manage the program. So we hope to see this really take off with that ability to have a manager and not somebody trying to juggle both sides of that. So.
Agreed. That's a new element we haven't seen. So the efficiency and productivity, I imagine, will go up even more than we already have seen as a result, in addition to having just more people on the teams now. So that's great to see. And then just a little bit of recognition. We had one from the Safe Place. That's a nice front to the card, and then all the signatures on the back there as we collaborate with them. And the birthday party, you guys can share in this one. Police and Fire helped. Yeah, that's super cool stuff. Everybody's really happy. It's a good time by everyone, and it's fun to work alongside PD, stuff like that. So we all enjoyed that one.
Go ahead. Doing great.
Thanks. General business, I mean, ours is going to be similar. It was going to be Eclipse updates, of which it was great. It went so smooth. Yeah. We were thinking we're not going to have a minute to look up and see it, and At headquarters, there was a nice congregation of people peacefully enjoying it across the street. And then the fire department was across the street doing the same.
We
And
stood in the street for 2 hours watching it.
so, yeah, it was
a great day.
It was a good time. Weather was good. Yes, it was enjoyable.
Amazing.
So we are gearing up for this weekend, which seems to pale in comparison to what we were expecting last weekend. But we usually are busier on the little 500, and we usually handle it just fine. As far as purchases, one large item that you'll see coming up, we had a significant amount of our turnout gear damaged in a fire recently. Some oil barrels overturned and saturated the gear with contaminants. Most of it was pretty heavily laden with the oil, and then the gear that was questionable, the process to check it in itself destroys the gear. So we're out of a lot of gear. The good news is an insurance claim with the property owner is successful and going to reimburse us for it. So we'll have to make a pretty large purchase, and then we'll see that money come back in to cover it. There ought to be a little bit of additional expenditures due to the eclipse planning. We had quite a bit of overtime and stood up quite a bit of extra apparatus. Nothing significant, but it would be beyond what you would normally see in staffing numbers and figures. As far as personnel, we currently have 3 vacancies. That does take into consideration the 4 recruits that are slated to swear in May. We currently have, as Chief mentioned, we have 1 MIH, mobile integrated healthcare worker, that just started. So we're looking forward to see what he brings to the team. And we have posted a hiring process this month, which we have 41 applicants so far and climbing. So that goes through into May, and then we'll have written testing for that at the start of May to see what that whittles down to.
Wait, so you don't have any how many vacancies are there?
Sorry, the 3 was, so technically we would have 7, of which 4 are, we have them, they're just not into the spots.
Okay,
Yeah, the
so
process.
3 is the.
You still have 3 after they start.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
And that doesn't include the MIH?
No.
Okay.
No, yes, that's.
Just firefighters?
Just firefighters.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, other personnel, we'll have an assistant chief of operations soon added to our administration. That's been needed, I think, for a while. That'll really help us encompass some of the tasks that we've been needing to get to that we now will be able to. So we're interviewing for that this week, and start of May? I think.
Yes, we hope to bring them, start them before, by the end of this month.
And we have 2 people currently off on long-term medical issues. And then the last item, celebrate the.
I guess that's a board issue, I think.
Yeah, something to celebrate on there.
Woo! Congratulations.
I think you have to vote on it officially.
Okay, was that why we were supposed to have an executive meeting and we didn't have one? We weren't? Oh, okay.
And we appointed Roger temporary basis in January, and now that it's
yes.
permanent, we need to re-vote on that. Is that correct?
Yes,
yeah.
did the resolution get into the packet?
No.
Did the board see the resolution? What I'll do then is, let me read the resolution. You can then vote on it, and we will have a hard copy for Barbara to sign afterwards.
That's good.
So the resolution is 2024-03, approval of appointment of Roger Kerr as chief. Whereas Carrie Thompson was sworn in as the mayor for the city of Bloomington, Indiana on January 1, 2024, and whereas pursuant to Indiana Code 36-4-9-2, the fire chief shall be appointed by the mayor with the approval of the Board of Public Safety, and whereas Mayor Carrie Thompson has appointed Interim Chief Roger Kerr to serve as the fire chief for the City of Bloomington Fire Department, and whereas the Board of Public Safety approves the appointment of Interim Chief Roger Kerr to serve as the fire chief. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Public Safety does hereby approve of Mayor Carrie Thompson's appointment of Interim Chief Roger Kerr to serve as the fire chief for the City of Bloomington Fire Department. So adopted the 16th day of April 2024 by the Board of Public Safety of the City of Bloomington. Signed by Barbara McKinney, Chair. Attest is Ashley Sparks, Secretary. That's the resolution. And Barbara, if you'll take it from here.
Can I get a motion to approve the resolution that Chris just read?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Any statements you want to share?
No, pretty excited.
Welcome to the city.
Got a great team, so it's not been here before, but this is a little different feeling to it, just with the team we have in place and the overall administration of the city is different. So pretty excited.
And how can we further continue to support beyond just coming to meetings? Is there anything you need from
Anytime
us?
you, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be great if anytime you want to stop in and do a ride along or visit a station or meet the crews. I think that would help them know who you are and understand what you do, and then you get a chance to understand what they do as well.
I would love to do a ride along.
You can do that.
Okay.
I'll come and get some food because I know y'all always.
That we do. We even fed the pigs.
I had some
They
food
cooked
before.
for us.
We did.
Eclipse Day.
Oh,
And since we weren't busy, we just sat around and ate.
I visited before and I plan on doing it again.
Well, absolutely.
Got a motion and a second, no discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, pass unanimously.
Very good.
Thank you.
I will point out, I don't know if you saw the state of the city, but Roger and I think we're the favorite department heads of the mayor because we were the only ones that she put our picture up there in her presentation, so.
I was there.
Fighting words, boy. People getting sensitive with that.
Do we have any old business?
I'm gonna go get the copy.
Any new business? No public input?
I have one
Oh, sorry.
question. I've attended a couple of these sessions of Safe Streets and Roads that's going on now, and I know there are going to be some, I think the goal is 0 death and our major injuries. But when Ryan mentioned the dispatchers, I have found myself wondering, I wonder if some of the changes will affect response times. And
Traffic
yes.
calming
Yes.
could, potentially, yes.
We actually had a meeting today with engineering to discuss turn radiuses of our trucks and widths needed to set them up and that kind of stuff so that they have a better idea as they proceed with some of that to understand how we have to maneuver. And so hopefully that'll help play into some of that.
In a couple of meetings, the comments were, well, it's good to have all these cars stopped in the middle of whatever, 3rd Street or Walnut. And I'm thinking, I wouldn't want to be an officer or a
I'll
fireman.
I'll point you to one over in front of Duke on West 2nd, where they put the
Right.
Flower thing in the middle.
median in the middle of the road and then they curbed it. Well, that was a main, when the hospital was located on
Yeah.
2nd, that was a main route for the ambulances. And there were many times that people just stopped and you can't get around them.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know that we can do much about it, but if you'll alert us, we'll try to raise a little stand.
We can do that. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I think we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Where's your guy?